students, welcome to my channel Science World. We have already started chapter 1 of biology class 9 and discussed about the cell as a structural and functional unit of life. In this video we will study about the plasma membrane and we will have its introduction, structure and functions. So let's begin with introduction. Students, in our last video we have seen that all the living organisms are made up of cells, and these cells are different in size, shape, number and even in the functions that they perform. So these all the organisms, they are not the same. Some are unicellular, some are multicellular, and the cells that form the bodies of these organisms are of different types, like red blood cells are there, columnar epithelial cells are there, smooth muscle cells, bone cells, ovum cell, nerve cells, sperm cells. These are different types of cells, and many other types of cells are there. Though they vary greatly in their functions, in their size and in their shape, these cells have three major functional regions, and all the activities inside the cell and the interaction of the cell with its environment are possible due to these three features. So these are very important features of a cell. The first one is the plasma membrane and the cell wall. Plasma membrane, it is the outer boundary of the cell which is present in the animal cells. In plant cells you can also see a cell wall. Okay, so cell wall is absent in animal cell, but it is present in the plant cells. The next is the nucleus. Nucleus plays a central role in the cellular reproduction, and it is visible under light microscope. Other organelles you have to see under the electron microscope. So nucleus is the second feature, and the third one is the cytoplasm. Cytoplasm lies inside the cell membrane. Suppose this is the cell, and this is the outer boundary, or you can say plasma membrane. Inside the plasma membrane you can see here the cytoplasm, and nucleus and other cell organelles, they lie in the cytoplasm. So various cell organelles are suspended in the cytoplasm. So these are the three very basic or we can say major functional regions of a cell, and these features enable the cell to interact with its environment. Okay. Then what is actually a plasma membrane? Plasma membrane is also called cell membrane. You can see here two cells are there. One is plant cell, another one is the animal cell. So what is plasma membrane? It is the outermost covering of the cell that separates the contents of the cell from its external environment. Here you can see in the animal cell, this is the cell membrane, and inside the cell you can see all these are cell organelles. Okay, these are the components of cell, or we can say the contents of the cell. These contents are separated from the external environment of the cell by this cell membrane, which is the outermost covering of the cell. In plant cell you can see a cell wall which lies after the cell membrane. Okay, so cell wall is present in the plant cell, it is absent in the animal cell. Okay. Different cell organelles have cell membranes. Some are without membrane, some have single membrane and some have double membrane. So let's see which cell organelles have this membrane. So the cell wall, ribosomes and cytoskeleton, these lack the membrane. These cell organelles are without the membrane. Vacuole, lysosome, Golgi bodies, endoplasmic reticulum, these are the cell organelles with single membrane. They have single membrane, bounded by a single membrane. And nucleus, mitochondria, chloroplast, these are the cell organelles with double membrane. They have double membrane. Okay. Now if you see a plasma membrane or a cell membrane under a microscope, you will get the structure. So plasma membrane is a very thin, it is living, a thin, delicate, elastic and selectively permeable membrane, and its thickness is about 7 nanometer. Okay. Chemically it is composed of 75% of phospholipids, and in addition it also contains proteins, cholesterol and polysaccharides. So here you are seeing the magnified cell membrane. So if you see a plasma membrane or a cell membrane under a microscope, you will see the structure like this. These are the two scientists, S. J. Singer and G. L. Nicholson. And in 1972, these two scientists proposed a model for explanation of ultrastructure of plasma membrane. So how it looks. So the model was known as fluid mosaic model. So according to them, plasma membrane is made up of a bilayer, that is 2 molecular thick, bilayer means 2 molecule thick layer, and it is made up of phospholipids. So here you can see 2 layers of phospholipids, this one and this one, yellow color you can see. So these are the 2 layers of phospholipids. 2 types of protein molecules floated about in the fluid lipid layer. So in the lipid layers you can see here, these are the protein molecules, these are proteins, and these proteins are embedded within the bilayer. So it is the fluid mosaic model. Here you can see 2 types of proteins are there, intrinsic protein and extrinsic protein. Now intrinsic proteins, they are completely they completely cover the lipid bilayer. Here you can see they are completely covering the lipid bilayer, but the extrinsic proteins, they occur on the outer or inner surface of the plasma membrane. So these are the 2 types of proteins that we can see in the plasma membrane. Okay, so this model is the most accepted one, and it is also described as a number of protein icebergs floating in the sea of lipids. Plasma membrane is called a selectively permeable membrane. Why? Now plasma membrane is selectively permeable because it permits the entry and exit of some materials in and out of the cell. Plasma membrane does not permit all the materials to enter the cell, inside the cell, or the exit of all the materials outside the cell. It is permitting only some of the materials. It also prevents the movement of some other materials. It prevents the movement of some other materials. Therefore, it is called selectively permeable membrane. Means plasma membrane has the ability that it can allow the movement of only particular materials through the cell, okay, from the cell in or out, and that is why it is known as selectively permeable membrane. Here you can see the picture. Here also you can see selectively permeable means only these particles are moving through it, not the another particle. Okay, so these particles are not moving, that means it is selectively permeable membrane. Now what are the advantages of selective permeability? Why it is so? Why plasma membrane permits the entry and exit of some materials? It is because first one is useful molecules enter the cell. Now what are the useful molecules? Molecules that are needed for nutrition, different nutrients, these are allowed to enter the cell. Then there are some enzymes, there are some secretions of the body that are needed to enter the cell, and these molecules enter the cell because of selective permeability. Then second, secretions and waste leave the cell. Whatever secretions are there in the cell and whatever waste is there, waste in the sense the undigested food maybe, or the waste of all the metabolic activities, so these waste should be removed from the cell, and that is why it is allowed to exit from the cell. Then third is to maintain homeostasis. Now what is homeostasis? It is the maintenance of the internal environment of the cell. So plasma membrane enables cell to maintain the constant internal environment in spite of the changes outside it. Whatever environment is outside the cell, the internal environment does not changes. Okay. Then next is substances drawn into the cell. Different substances are drawn into the cell, like raw materials for metabolism like food, water, salts, oxygen. Then regulatory substances like vitamins and hormones. Some substances are expelled out from the cells. Which are these substances? Like carbon dioxide, which is the product of metabolism, also the nitrogenous waste, secretions such as some proteins, enzymes, hormones, milk, tear, mucus, antibodies, etc. These substances are expelled out from the cell. So these all the substances which are expelled out from the cell and which are drawn into the cell, it is because of the selective permeability of the cell. Otherwise what will happen? All the materials, if the cell membrane will allow all the materials to come inside the cell, then the cell will not perform or cell will not work properly, because the unnecessary materials will also enter the cell. The next is functions of plasma membrane. Students, you may have some questions like how does the movement of substances take place into the cell, or how do substances move out of the cell? So the studies on the functions of plasma membrane have shown that plasma membrane performs different functions like diffusion, osmosis, mediated transport, endocytosis and exocytosis, and these are some physical and biological processes by which the substances move in or out from the cell. So we will see one by one. So what is diffusion? The spontaneous movement of a substance from a region of higher concentration to the region of lower concentration until uniform concentration is finally achieved is called diffusion. So diffusion is the movement of substances like molecules and ions from higher concentration to the lower concentration, and it is continue until there is uniform concentration, okay, inside and outside the cell. Diffusion plays an important role in the gaseous exchange between the cells as well as the cell and its external environment. So for example, we can see here some substances like carbon dioxide, it accumulates in high concentration inside the cell, and here this is the intracellular cytoplasm here inside the cell, and this CO2 or carbon dioxide is accumulated as waste and requires to be excreted out by the cell. This carbon dioxide should be excreted out by the cell because it is a waste. In the cell's external environment, the concentration of CO2 is low as compared to that of inside the cell. As we know, the cell performs different functions, different metabolic activities are going on in the cell, and during this carbon dioxide concentration is very high inside the cell. As soon as there is a difference of concentration of carbon dioxide inside and outside the cell, there is difference between the concentration. Here inside the cell it is high while it is low in the extracellular fluid outside the cell, okay. So when this difference of concentration is there inside and outside the cell, carbon dioxide moves out from the cell, and means from higher concentration to the lower concentration, okay, and this is the process known as diffusion. So carbon dioxide moves out from the cell by the process of diffusion. Similarly, oxygen enters the cell by the process of diffusion when the level or the concentration of oxygen inside the cell decreases. So when there is decrease in the level of oxygen in the cell, oxygen from outside the cell diffuses inside the cell, and here you can see this is the plasma membrane. This is the plasma membrane here, and this diffusion takes place through the plasma membrane. So this is the simple diffusion of lipid soluble molecules through the plasma membrane. Here you will get another idea. So molecules, they are moving from high concentration to the low concentration, and there is an equilibrium. Equilibrium means both the sides inside and outside the cell, when there is a balance in concentration, we say that it is the equilibrium, okay. In amoeba you can see oxygen enters the cell by the process of diffusion. Also carbon dioxide diffuses out by the process of diffusion, okay. So when the level of concentration of oxygen inside the cell decreases, oxygen from outside diffuses inside the cell, that is amoeba. So respiration uses oxygen and produces carbon dioxide, and this carbon dioxide diffuses out when there is higher concentration inside the cell and lower concentration outside the cell. So in this way oxygen and carbon dioxide diffuses inside the cell, and also it is removed from the cell. Then next is osmosis. What is osmosis? Osmosis is the passage of water. It is the passage of water from a region of high water concentration to a region of low water concentration through a semi-permeable membrane. So osmosis is the movement of water molecules from high water concentration to low water concentration through the semi-permeable membrane. Osmosis is purely mechanical diffusion process by which cell absorb water without spending any amount of energy. There is no energy needed for this process of osmosis. Here you can see the molecules of water, these blue color water molecules, they move inside the cell. When there is low water concentration inside the cell and high water concentration outside the cell. So this is the process of osmosis. Now let's see what will happen if we put an animal cell such as red blood cell or a plant cell, that is for example Rho cell or Rho-Lewis cell, into a solution of sugar or salt in water. So if we will prepare sugar or salt solution in water and we will keep this animal cell or plant cell in it, then what will happen? There may be some changes in the structure of the cell. So let's see, one of the three possibilities are there. How many? Three. So three possibilities are there according to the concentration of solution. Okay, according to the concentration of solution, cells will change their structure. So let's see how it happens. So you can see here there are three situations. We'll start with this one first. So if the medium surrounding the cell has a higher water concentration than the cell, that means the outer side of or the outside solution is very dilute, the cell will gain water by osmosis. Such solution is called as hypotonic solution. Means when these cells, it may be an animal cell or a plant cell, when these cells are placed in the hypotonic solution, means the dilute solution, means the concentration is higher in the cell but it is lower in the outside of the cell. Okay, so in this hypotonic solution, what happens? Water molecules are free to pass across the plasma membrane in both the directions, but more water will enter the cell than leave, and the result will be water enter the cell and the cell is likely to swell up. Here you can see the cells, they swell up, the RBCs we have taken here. So these cells will swell up and ultimately burst. So this cell will burst. Here you can see. So this RBC will burst, and this is known as hemolysis, means the breakdown of RBC. So hemolysis will take place in the hypotonic solution. But what happens in a plant cell? In plant cell also the cell will take up water. Here the cell will take up water and swell, but the cell wall prevents it from the bursting. We know that there is another membrane around the plant cell. So this cell wall, it prevents the bursting of the cell, and the cell becomes turgid. So turgid means it becomes swollen and it becomes hard. Okay, so in plant cell the cell becomes turgid, and in animal cells it is hemolyzed or it breaks down. Then what happens in the next solution? We will see the next situation. If the medium has exactly the same water concentration as that of the cell, suppose inside the cell and outside the cell, okay, the medium and the concentration inside the cell, both the solutions or both the situations are same, means water concentration in the cell and outside the cell are same, then what will happen? There will be no movement of water across the plasma membrane, and such solution is known as isotonic solution, means there is no movement of water molecules across the plasma membrane. So one solution is there, it is known as Ringer's solution. It is an isotonic solution for animal cells in the physiological experiments. So suppose there are many physiological experiments going on in the laboratories, and to keep the cells, the scientists or the researchers, they use Ringer's solution because it is isotonic solution and the cells maintain the same size and they do not change. There is no effect of the solution on the cells. So it is known as the isotonic solution. In this case, water across the plasma membrane in both the directions, it moves inside and outside, it moves, but the amount of going in is the same as the amount of going out, and so there is no overall movement of water and the cell will maintain the same size. Here you can see same size. In plant cell also there is no change in the size of the cell. The next situation, What is it? If the medium has a lower concentration of water than the cell. Suppose these cells are kept in such a solution where the concentration of solution is very low, means the concentration of the solution is higher but amount of water is less. Okay, the cell will lose water by osmosis. The cell will lose water by osmosis, means the cells they lose water. Okay, and such type of solution is known as hypertonic solution. That means in hypertonic solution the cells lose water and they become their shape changes and they shrinks. So in this case water crosses the membrane in both the directions, but this time more water leaves the cell. Water leaves the cell. So therefore the cell will shrink. You can see here change in the cells. Here you can see the changes in the cell. The cells shrink. In this situation the plant cell is said to be plasmolysed. What happens to the plant cell? It is plasmolysed, and the animal cells are said to be crenated. So here this situation is known as crenated and this situation is known as plasmolysed. What happens in plasmolysis? The cytoplasm moves inside the cell from all sides. Okay, and it appears in at the center of the cell. So this is plasmolysis. Okay, so these are the three situations: hypotonic solution, isotonic solution and hypertonic solution. So in all the three solutions the cells have different behaviors. In hypotonic solution the animal cells they get hemolyzed, they break down, while the plant cells become turgid. In isotonic solution there is no change in the cells. In hypertonic solution the animal cells, or we can say RBCs, they get crenated or they shrink, and the plant cells they get plasmolysed. Okay, now let's have some activities related with the process of osmosis. The first activity is osmosis with human RBCs. This activity needs supervision of your teacher. So in presence of your teacher you perform this activity. Clean ring finger of your left hand with spirit and prick it with the disposable needle that is available in the laboratory, and take 3 drops of blood on a plain slide as shown in the figure and mark them as A, B and C. To drop A, add a drop of Ringer solution. Here you have to add Ringer solution. Then to drop B you add a drop of water, and to drop C you add concentrated salt solution. Okay, or drop of concentrated salt solution. So here you can see this is the isotonic solution, this is hypotonic solution and this is hypertonic solution. Okay, now observe the blood drops under the light microscope. The circular biconcave non-nucleated red blood cells, or we can say RBCs, they are seen in drop A. Okay, in drop A you can see these circular RBCs. In drop B RBCs appear swollen. In drop B RBCs they appear swollen and they get hemolyzed, or they can be seen burst. In drop C the RBCs will appear shrunken, or they are also known as crenated. So these are the different solutions, and you can see the size of red blood cells. So this is the activity you can observe, and you can write down your observations. Then next activity number 2 is osmosis with an egg. Now what you have to do here: take a hen's egg and remove the eggshell by putting the egg in dilute hydrochloric acid or HCl solution. When you put the egg in HCl or hydrochloric acid solution, the shell of an egg is made up mainly of calcium carbonate, calcium bicarbonate that we know, and that shell will be dissolved. That shell will be dissolved in the hydrochloric acid solution. A thick outer skin called shell membrane is present below that shell, and this encloses the egg. So here you can see the egg without eggshell. What you have to do with this: put this processed egg in pure water and observe after 3 to 5 minutes. This egg you have to put in the pure water and then observe. You will observe that the egg swells because water enters the egg by osmosis. This egg becomes swollen, it swells by the process of osmosis. water enters inside the egg. Okay, in another glass you take similar processed egg and keep concentrated salt solution or sugar solution in the glass and keep that egg here in this glass for 5 minutes. You will observe that egg shrinks. The egg shrinks. The egg shrinks since water passes out of the egg solution into the salt solution, as the salt solution is more concentrated. Okay, so here you can see that here in distilled water the egg shows endosmosis. Okay, endosmosis, here endosmosis, and in salt or sugar solution it shows exosmosis. We are going to read about these two processes later. So this was the activity with the egg. Then next, third activity is osmosis with resins. Let's see, here you can see the resins. So put some dried resins or apricots you can take in a pure water and leave them for some time. Then place them into a concentrated solution of sugar or salt. Each gains water and swells when placed in pure water. So when these resins are put in the pure water, they swell up due to endosmosis, and when such swollen resins, when they are kept in the concentrated solution of salt or sugar, each of them loses water. They again loses water and shrinks again due to exosmosis. So here it is endosmosis and here exosmosis. So examples of osmosis are there. Some unicellular freshwater organisms and most of the plant cells, they tend to gain water through the osmosis. Also the roots of plants, they also take up water through osmosis. So the root hair that are present on the roots, they help in the osmosis, and by this process they take up water. Then the microorganisms that are present in water, some freshwater microorganisms like unicellular microorganisms, they also perform osmosis. Amoeba, Paramecium, Euglena, Diatom, these are the some unicellular microorganisms. Another one interesting example I will tell you. If you are there in a bathtub or in water for long, your fingers get pruned. You may have seen such type of fingers when you keep your fingers in water for long. So prune means you will get the wrinkled skin. So it is because of the narrowing of blood vessels and causing the loose folds. Here loose folds on the skin you can see that forms the wrinkles. So this happens because of osmosis. So these are the different examples of osmosis. Now what is the difference between diffusion and osmosis? Let's see. First we will read about the diffusion. Diffusion can occur in any medium. Diffusion can occur in any medium. The diffusing molecules may be solids, liquids or gases. That means the diffusion process occurs in solids, liquids and gases. Here in diffusion, semi-permeable membrane is not required. Semi-permeable membrane is not required in the process of diffusion. Number 4, it is dependent upon the free energy of the molecules of diffusing substances only. Presence of another substances in the system is not important. Important is only the energy of molecules that move from higher concentration to the lower concentration. Number 5, an equilibrium is in the free energy of diffusion molecules is achieved in the system. Equilibrium is achieved means both the sides, inside the cell and outside the cell, when there is same concentration of the molecules, then there will be no diffusion. So equilibrium is achieved in the process of diffusion. Now what about osmosis? It occurs only in liquid medium. Osmosis occurs in only liquid medium. It involves movement of solvent molecules only. Solvents, suppose you take a sugar solution or salt solution, then water molecules are there which perform the osmosis, or the movement of water molecules is there in osmosis. Semi-permeable membrane is required here in osmosis. Without that there will be no osmosis. Though it is the diffusion of solvent molecules only, yet influenced by the presence of other substances. So the presence of solutes in that solution, it affects the osmosis. Number 5, equilibrium in the free energy of solvent molecule is never achieved. So here there is no equilibrium in the process of osmosis. Okay, so these are the some differences between diffusion and osmosis. I think you are getting my points. The next is mediated transport, or it is also known as receptor mediated transport. So here molecules are transported across the plasma membrane with the help of some membrane proteins. There are proteins in the plasma membrane. We have seen the structure of plasma membrane. So the cell membrane acts as an effective barrier to the free diffusion of most of the molecules of biological significance. So there are many molecules which are or which do not get entry in the cell. Okay, so this plasma membrane acts as a barrier for this molecule, but it is necessary that some materials enter the cell and some materials leave the cell. For example, nutrients such as sugars and materials of growth such as amino acids must enter the cell, and waste of metabolism must be thrown outside the cell. And such molecules are moved across the membrane by special proteins called transport proteins, or they are also known as permeases. Okay, so these permeases are of different types, like channel proteins are there and carrier proteins are there. So these channel proteins and carrier proteins enable the solute molecules to cross this lipid bilayer from a passageway through the membrane. So these channel proteins and these carrier proteins, they allow a passage through which these molecules enter the cell or they get exited from the cell. So these permeases or these proteins or transport proteins, these are specific in nature. That means only a limited group of chemical substances or even a single substance they recognize and transport. They do not carry all the materials. They are very specific and they allow the transport of very few or the materials that are recognized by them. Okay, so this is known as mediated transport. Mediated transport is of two types. First one is facilitated diffusion, that is here energy is not required, but the active transport needs energy, that is ATP molecules are required. So this is about the mediated transport. Then next is endocytosis. What is endocytosis? Let us see. The flexibility of the cell membrane also enables the cell to engulf in food and other materials from the external environment. We have already seen the structure of amoeba, and in amoeba it forms the pseudopodia and it engulfs the food material. Okay, so that is known as endocytosis. So these processes are known as endocytosis. Endocytosis is the ingestion of material by the cells through the plasma membrane. Here you can see these are the some materials and this is the plasma membrane, and there is ingestion of these materials inside the cell. Now what happens here? The material to be taken inside the cell, it is surrounded by an area of cell membrane. Here you can see first here this invagination is there, then this is the process, and at last this vesicle is formed. So the material to be taken inside the cell, it is surrounded by an area of cell membrane, and then the cell membrane or this part, it buds off and it forms a vesicle, and it contains the ingested material here inside the vesicle. For example, amoeba engulfs its food by endocytosis, just now I told you. So this can include the things like nutrients that support the cell or the pathogens that immune cells engulf and destroy. Pathogens means the bacteria or viruses that are there outside, or we can say extracellular fluid. So these are also taken up by the cell by the process of endocytosis. So endocytosis serves many purposes. Why it is important? Here you can see the process of endocytosis in amoeba. So when there is food particle present, it forms the pseudopodia with the help of this plasma membrane. Okay, then this forms a vacuole, food vacuole, formation of food vacuole within the cell. Then this food vacuole, it fuses with the lysosomes, and then there is digestion of the food particles, so taking in nutrients. Then capturing of pathogens. Just now I told you, bacteria or viruses or any other foreign particles, they capture it and they digest it. There are different types of endocytosis. The first one is phagocytosis. It is also known as cell eating, and it is common method in this amoeba, okay, and some lower metazoa like sponges. In sponges also this phagocytosis is there. It is also the way in which WBCs, or we can say leukocytes, engulf the cellular debris and uninvited microbes, that is viruses and bacteria, in the blood. Okay, so in phagocytosis what happens, an area of plasma membrane forms a pocket that engulfs the solid material, bacteria, viruses or debris, and the membrane encloses the vesicle and it detaches from the cell surface or a plasma membrane into the cytoplasm, where its contents are digested by the lysosomal activity. So the eating process or the feeding process of amoeba is one kind of phagocytosis. So this is the example of phagocytosis. Then next is pinocytosis. It is also known as cell drinking. It is common in plant and animal cells, and it is non-specific. Small vesicles are formed. Here you can see these are the extracellular fluid substances present in the fluid. So these small vesicles are formed, like here you can see the folds of plasma membrane, they form the small vesicles, and these vesicles contain the extracellular fluid, and these contain solutes. So during pinocytosis, the cell takes in substances from extracellular fluid. These includes things like water and nutrients. So this is another type of endocytosis. Then third one is the receptor mediated endocytosis. It is a specialized type of endocytosis. During this process, some macromolecules bind to the receptor proteins. So along this plasma membrane, surface of this plasma membrane, there are some receptor proteins, and these proteins bind with the molecules that are that want the entry in the cell. And these vesicles that are formed from the plasma membrane, this vesicle contains these macromolecules, and these vesicles then deliver to their destinations in the form of vesicle. So these coated vesicles, we can say, these vesicles contain the molecules that are needed by the cell. So one example of this receptor mediated endocytosis is cholesterol uptake by the cells. So cholesterol molecules, these are taken by the cell by the process of receptor mediated endocytosis. Then what is exocytosis? It is the process by which cells move materials from within the cell into the extracellular fluid. We know that there is extracellular fluid outside the cell, so the materials are moving from inside the cell to the outside. Exocytosis occurs when a vesicle, so now this is the vesicle containing the waste material, and this vesicle when fuses with the plasma membrane, plasma membrane allows it to excrete or we can say release the contents of the vesicle outside the cell. It is also called cell vomiting. Exocytosis occurs for many purposes, like removing of undigested material, removing of toxins and waste products like carbon dioxide and water, releasing of secretions like hormones, enzymes and neurotransmitters, cellular membrane growth and repair. So in the process of exocytosis, a vesicle is formed containing undigested waste from Golgi body or endoplasmic reticulum. Here vesicle is formed, and it travels to the cell membrane. Here a passage is formed in the fused membrane, and the vesicle discharges the content outside the cell. The vesicle fuses with plasma membrane or separates from it. After releasing of this waste material, this vesicle, it gets fused with the plasma membrane or it separates from it. So this is the process of exocytosis. So we have seen diffusion, osmosis, mediated transport, endocytosis and exocytosis. So these are all the functions that are performed by the plasma membrane. I hope you all understood. So here endocytosis and exocytosis comparison is there. So endocytosis, you can see here entry of the substance in the cell through the plasma membrane, and exocytosis is the exit of the substance from the cell through the plasma membrane. So these are the two types of. So students, thank you for watching this video. If you find this video useful for you, then please like, comment and share. Also subscribe my channel and press the bell icon to get notification of my upcoming videos. So in our next video, we will discuss about the next cell organelle, that is nucleus. So keep watching. We'll meet again soon. Take care, be safe, stay healthy. Bye bye.